All right. Good morning, everybody. I could say welcome to Chicago, but you guys have probably been here for at least 3 days already. But welcome to this session. My name's Stephen Boyle, and I have the pleasure and the honor to run the Global Systems Integrators, High-Value Management Consultant, Advisory, and Systems Integrator Partnerships for Microsoft worldwide. It's really, truly a pleasure to be here with all of you today. I hope it's been a great Ignite for everybody. I hope you've seen some amazing things. I personally really was blown away by Satya's keynote yesterday and the sheer volume of new products and new solutions and new ways to go about business that Satya talked about. Everything from devices for the desktop to devices for hybrid cloud world. It really was a super exciting keynote. Hopefully all of you guys agree with that. I think there was something like 80 new product announcements, and I'll be honest with you, I haven't read through them all yet. That will be some reading for the plane home, I think. Just to call out a couple that are near and dear to me, I think the AI Foundry and everything that we can do as a partner organization to leverage and implement and use AI Foundry. The other thing that really stood out for me was our enhancements in all things fabric. You really can't have a good AI experience if you don't have a good data experience. And I think a lot of us in the room, understand and accept and are very knowledgeable in that space. I spent 10 plus years at Oracle, so trust me, data is very near and dear to my heart in that regard. And then, of course, security. And security, you've heard from Satya on down. We are hyper passionate and focused on security. You might have heard us say, if we have an option to improve a feature or we can make something more secure, we make something more secure. So all the security announcements yesterday as well. And I think it was called the zero-day hackathon that Satya talked about with that phenomenal $4 million, I think, that he put on the table. So all in all, this is my second time at Microsoft. I'm going to lead with a statement that says there is no better time to be at Microsoft. And hopefully in the next 40 minutes or so, I'm going to prove that to all of you in the room and all of you listening and reading online. Partners are what makes this real. I mean, I know you've heard that from many of our executives. As a key partner leader in Microsoft, it's in my DNA. I know we cannot be successful without all of you in the room and all of you watching online. I remember many years ago in my first time with Microsoft, we were doing an executive event, and I had a gentleman on stage, and names will be not used to protect the innocent, but if he's listening, he'll know what I'm saying. I said, look, you had a choice, and you chose Azure. Tell the audience why. And he looked at me and he smiled and he said, Stephen, I have a choice. And that really resonated for me because it made me realize that all of you in the room and all of our customers out there, they have a choice every day, every week, every month in the direction that they go in. And what that means for me and what that message that I got from that very kind gentleman all the way back then was, I have to earn your trust and I have to continue to earn your trust. And I just want you to know that's really important to me on this journey together. We had some phenomenal winners. You saw many of them over the last couple of days. And I'm very proud to say many of the partners that I represent inside of Microsoft were Partner of the Year award winners at country level, at global level, and across many of our Partner of the Year award offerings. So I want to thank you all. I want to thank you all. Not just the winners, the finalists, and everybody. We had so many submissions. I've had the pleasure of being, part of the judging panel. I know how much work goes into putting those contributions in place, and trust me, there are amazing contributions that come, and these winners should be applauded for that. So thank you. I want to go back 10 years. I joined Microsoft about a month after Satya became the CEO. A few months later, we probably heard this for the first time: to empower every person in every organization on the planet to achieve more. And you might wonder why I keep bringing that up. For me, I don't think there is a better time right now that makes this real. In the era of generative AI, in the era of copilots and everything that we can achieve, this means more now than perhaps it even did back then. And I think that's what we as Microsoft and as partners on behalf of our customers, that's what we need to be thinking about every single day. And I'm going to get into a little more detail about how I think that manifests itself in so many ways. Manifest's an interesting word. So I'm British, and you guys probably don't pay attention to BBC, but as somebody laughed in the audience, you might know what I'm going to say. So yesterday, the Cambridge Dictionary from my home country decided that manifest was the word of the year, which is interesting because there's a lot of words out there. I thought Copilot might have had a shot, but maybe that's for next year. Maybe that's for next year. But I want to manifest some things for you today. I want to sort of take you through the art of the possible on how we're going to build this amazing new generative AI future that we're all running as fast as we can into. I am super excited about the future, probably more excited than any wave of computing that I've ever seen before. So Nicole went into this in depth. I want to flash it up because it impacts what I call my partner community. It impacts our whole partner community. It impacts what we, Microsoft, can do with our partners. So we are doubling down in so many different areas. You can read the slide. You can read Nicole's blog. It goes into a lot more detail. I want to call out one or two on here that are especially relevant to me and the partners that I manage. And I also want to tell you a little bit about where we ourselves are making more investments this year. So in the SI community, my organization is basically doubling in size. Every single one of those new additions is a cloud solution architect with deep, what I would like to call level 300, level 400 capabilities in all of our solution areas, and of course, infused with generative AI. I need those people inside my organization to help you guys in so many different ways. I need to be able to tell them where to go and what to build with you that is relevant to the industry or is relevant to the customer that we might be dealing with. So I'm not an island away from our customer success unit or our global black belts. I'm part of that community, but I now have the ability to sit down with you and not just to do skilling and enablement, but to do real practice development, to develop real-world solutions that our customers can use. Judson likes to say migrations, migrations, migrations. I don't have that much time, so migrations are really, really important, right? They are, if anything, they are the bedrock of how we get to this generative AI future. And as you can see, we've significantly increased the incentives and investments that we've made in that space. And beyond that, there's other sums of money that Microsoft puts on the table that Judson Althoff makes available as part of our overall program with customers that many of you might be familiar with, like end customer incentive funds. There is an awful lot of money on the table, and there's an awful lot of people in this room and online who understand today how to leverage those incentives, and I encourage you to learn, and I encourage you to take advantage of it. An incentive and an investment is not working for Microsoft if it's sitting in our bank and it's not being used. So I really encourage you to learn how to use our incentive programs. They can be a little bit complicated. We are working on simplifying them with every bone in our body. But that money is there to invest in you, to invest in our customers, to drive this generative AI forward. I think you've heard a lot of stats, right? There are tons and tons of studies out there that describe how many people want to use Copilot. I remember in it's 12 months old, right? Microsoft 365 Copilot is 12 months old. And I loved one of the early gentlemen who said, I offered my staff free lunches for a month or a Copilot. And 75% of his team took the Copilot. And I think what we're seeing in the customer adoption that we're seeing in our own partner community, those stats are going to just continue to get better. Our daily active usage, our monthly active usage. I'd be interested, how many of you turn on Microsoft or use Microsoft 365 Copilot every day, every week? Okay, pretty good, but I can see I've got some work to do. So I appreciate that. Thank you. The other thing that's super important on this slide is that middle section. Cybersecurity has to be at the core of everything that we do. Microsoft's commitment to economic value. We could have a long conversation about what the multiplier is. The fact is, whether the multiplier is 5x or 15x, there is undoubtedly well-proven and well-documented cases of the multiplier effect of what we can do with Microsoft. So IDC's recent report and that study that you can see in Nicole's blog on September the 19th demonstrates that, as far as we're concerned, in the size of the case that we took, anything from 8 to 10x or even 8 to 11x. But you'll have your own multipliers and you'll have your own opinion on how that works. It's a value proposition that we should pay close attention to. And as I said, if you think about those investments that I talked about earlier on, it's a way for you really to bring this to life, not just for yourselves and for the partner organizations that you work for, but for the customers that you represent as well. I think as part of this survey, 8 out of 10 partners, 8 out of 10. I'm worried about the other 2, to be honest with you. I'd like to find them. But 8 out of 10 partners said generative AI, Copilots, and the recent slew of announcements that Microsoft has made is absolutely going to generate incremental revenue and incremental profitability for their organizations. So my work is obviously to identify those 2. And next year, when I stand in front of you, hopefully say every single person recognizes the value that we're driving here. It's super important for me to talk a little bit about responsible AI. For me, it goes hand in glove with that whole security and resilience posture that Microsoft needs to take and needs to deliver through you to our customers, but for you as well. When you say that statement a different way around, instead of saying 73 or 75%, when you say 3 out of every 4 people are concerned about the potential risks of AI, that's too high. When you say that 3 out of 4 are more willing to work with AI when they have the assurance of where they're getting their AI from is a trusted source, then that makes me feel better. And there's we should have made it bigger and we should have had one of those QR codes, I apologize. But there's a great report out there that goes in depth in what we talk about in terms of our responsible AI initiative. And Brad Smith, who's our vice chair and chief general counsel, and many other things to Microsoft, him and his whole team are really leaning in on how we can be ethical, how we can be responsible, how we can be more secure, and how we can really deliver on those promises through and with you. So I want you to feel confident that we as a company, at the very highest levels of the company, we take this super seriously, and we do everything in our power to ensure that we deliver secure and responsible AI going forward. So what are the opportunities? You know, we've been accused of being a complex organization, and granted, after almost 50 years in the industry and the breadth of solutions that we bring to market, I will grant you that there are layers of complexity. For me, this is one of the simplest ways to look at where we together can go and open up the opportunity for generative AI with our partners and with our customers. First of all, you have to be thinking about your own employees. And Judson's told this story, so I'll be very brief. We had a decision to make in his organization to empower us with M365 Copilot. And you're probably sitting there, and if you know Microsoft for a long time, you might have heard the phrase dog food. I prefer to drink my own champagne, but they're essentially one and the same. We chose, at some costs to us, to make sure that all of Judson's organization had access to Copilots. We are our own customer zero many, many times. This is one of those experiences, this is one of those technologies where if you don't understand it yourself, if you don't interact with it every day, if you don't begin to push the boundaries of what is possible, then you can't tell that story yourself. So I personally, I think about every day, and every day Copilot makes me a little smarter, saves me a little bit more time. I use it across my emails, I use it across my chat, I use it to summarize documents, I use it to go back into meetings and quickly get the notes. I love that story that Satya told about executive briefing documents. I thought he was going to let me off the hook for a second. I thought he was going to say, you don't have to write executive briefing documents anymore, Stephen, but he didn't quite go that far. But in all seriousness, the amount of information that we have to consume in that simple use case alone saves me, I would say, hours a week. The second thing we have to do is look at our customers. We look at you as both partners and customers. You look at your own customer base as well. What can we do to improve the customer experience? And there are so many different use cases. Last night, I visited a few of our partners, and in every single case, they're ready to talk to me about a particular industry and a particular role and what they can do with generative AI to change the model. And one of the gentlemen I was talking to last night, who focuses primarily in the financial services, was talking about how know your customer, or KYC, or what's the next best step if you're in wealth management? What can you do in insurance processing? In every industry, there are use cases where this is not only going to improve our experience as employees, the customer experience, but it's going to bleed into that third section, which is how do we change the business processes? Because we truly today have a technology, probably like nothing else we've had in the digital age, to help people fundamentally rewire how they go about business. So when you think about it, that last one of bending the curve, that bending the curve goes across everything that I've just said, from an employee experience perspective, from a customer experience perspective, and how we can radically change the way that people go about the business. And I think one of the hardest things is just imagining a world that big. I mean, I struggle with it sometimes. It's like, what is the art of the possible when you have something that is seemingly as powerful as this? And when you hear Satya yesterday bring 80 new products that are only going to lean in to all of that and make things better in the future. So I'm super excited about that. And I'm super excited about, just think about those four things: employees, customers, business processes, and bending innovation. And then plug your partner experience into that, look at your customers and how you can drive that forward. So why should you bet on Microsoft? There's a lot of press out there that's giving us a lot of kudos at the moment for where we are in the marketplace, and that's great to see. That's great to see that third-party validation. But let me break it down a little bit internally for you. I think more than ever, we look at everything through an industry lens. We have really strong solutions and really strong capabilities in financial services in the broadest sense of the word, or retail, or manufacturing. We work with all of you in this room and many more around the world to create and co-sell increasingly these AI-powered solutions across all of our solution areas, but focused more and more, like that example I used a moment ago in financial services. How do we do KYC better? How do we more secure payments processing in a financial services industry? How do we think about wealth management? And replicate that across every industry. So our industry alignment with industry specialized partners, whether you're an ISV, IP type partner, or services-led partner, that is how we are going to market as a company going forward. Clearly, it's all about AI. I mean, we have our traditional solution areas, but as you know, every single one of those traditional solution areas is being infused with more and more AI capability. I mentioned before that the size of my organization specifically is doubling. We are doubling down on the need for technical skilling, and that is in this era and where we are right now, it's fairly obvious to know why. We've got a whole host of new technologies that we need to get our arms around, and not just get the certifications, but to get practice development, to get customer ready, to be confident when you go to the customer that you know your solutions and your services together with Microsoft. You can talk about them confidently, you can demonstrate the efficiency gains, talk about the ROI and the top line benefits, and then implement at speed to drive all of those customer benefits as well. So me personally, our team, and then the broader Microsoft, doubling down on making sure that you can learn about what Satya has talked about this week, and we can really bring that to a customer-ready and customer-facing level of capability. And then last, but by no means least, strategic's an overused word, but in any business, in any size, in any segment, you can find a real strategic initiative or a strategic imperative that stretches from end to end. It could start in the C-suite, and it could impact the shop floor worker or the retailer or whatever else. And there's a lot of partners that I work with on a regular basis that really do span that whole strategy for the customers and the partners that they support. Sometimes it's done with multiple partners. I was in a couple of meetings this week. We were talking about a healthcare provider here in the United States. I had a meeting with one of the major high-value management consultant organizations. And guess what? That logo came up. I was meeting with one of the advisory firms, and we were talking about the same healthcare provider. And then I had a meeting with one of my global systems integrators, and again, the same story was put forward. So I'm incredibly acknowledging and respectful of the fact that where I sit, I often look at customers and I see lots of different partners, and that take a village mentality is even more important going forward in this age of generative AI. So to try and tie all of that together, we, Microsoft, are going to give you guys a lot of solutions to work with and to implement with your customers. But I sell mainly in a mission-critical enterprise world. I sell mainly in that top part of the pyramid. And I mentioned that I used to work for Oracle. I'm incredibly respectful of SAP, which has been woven through my career in so many different ways. I think about Adobe, Oracle, SAP. There's lots of enterprise solutions that our customers depend upon on a daily basis to run their business. So we can't get it done without perhaps more than one village. So we're going to spend a few minutes now with one of those great partnerships that we've evolved over the last few years. And I'm going to ask Erica Volini from ServiceNow to join me on stage. And we're going to talk about the power of the partnership and what it means to all of you and what it means to me to make sure that we can deliver those customer expectations going forward. Erica, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Softball question.
I love it. Let's start. It's early morning. Softballs are a good way to start.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do for ServiceNow.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for having me here.
Yeah,
it's been great to be at Ignite. It's a fabulous conference. Microsoft is, of course, an incredible company and partner to us. As far as me, so I've been at ServiceNow for 3 years. I have been the head of partnerships and channels there. That is my official role. Before I came to ServiceNow, I was at a partner. I was at Deloitte. I don't know if we have any Deloitte alum sitting in the room here, but I was there for 23 years. I was a senior partner, and I led one of Deloitte's 5 businesses globally. And I focused on the future of work, which was my area of expertise, which is actually how I linked into ServiceNow. Because every time I was talking to companies about the evolution of work and how work was going to be transformed, it always came back to ServiceNow. Because with the workflows that we provide, we really have an opportunity to fundamentally change work. And voila, I am here. Outside of that, I'm a mom of 2 little guys, 18 months and 6 years old, and I live in Scottsdale. So that's a little bit about me.
I'm not going to ask how you fit all of that into the life that all of us lead in this room and together, but that's fabulous. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So let's educate the audience on how we got to where we are today with ServiceNow, and then we'll talk a little bit about the future of ServiceNow and Microsoft together in this age of generative AI.
Yeah, so we've had a partnership with Microsoft since 2019. So, you know, we've had 5 years of working together. And I think a lot of times people think, is this competition? There's overlap. I always find with technology companies, there's going to be some overlap no matter what you do. But truly, I think the partnership that we have formed very much is about bringing 2 incredibly powerful technology platforms together to fundamentally be able to drive productivity and massive amount of transformational change. And we work together quite well in the market. Hopefully a lot of people know we've had some very powerful integrations that we've created between our technologies that we're bringing to market. And frankly, we're each other's customer, which is great. And I love using Copilot in my day-to-day work. And hopefully we have a lot of folks at Microsoft who love using Now Assist, which is ServiceNow's Gen AI technology.
Such a great point. You've probably heard a number of us talk about customer zero. So to be each other's best customers, to learn by implementing and using the technologies, and to quickly put to bed, well, whose Copilot is best. So let's talk about what happens in AI going forward. You mentioned that we have our respective Copilots, but I know that that integration is tight. How do you see that playing out for us and also for, obviously, for the partners and the customers.
Yeah, you know, you think about Microsoft and you think about what you provide, and it's really, I mean, it's that productivity layer. It's the engagement layer, right? That's where you want to work, whether it's in Teams or in Office 365. Like, that is where you get your work done. Fantastic. And ServiceNow is the engine that then can drive some of that work. So when I think about the way these two things fit together, to me, it's completely complementary. It's like you're sitting in Teams, you need to do something. Maybe you need to order a laptop, or maybe you need to go on vacation, which I often want to do, right? You want to just do it where you are. So you're sitting in Teams and you just want to make that request and get it done. And now we can seamlessly bring that into ServiceNow, execute that workflow action, and that's what ServiceNow really excels at. And then once that's done, you're brought back into Teams. So from a user perspective and an employee perspective, you're not losing an ounce of productivity. In fact, you're gaining, right? You're staying in the interface, bless you, that you want to be in, because that's where you could be the most productive. But you're getting the power of the workflows of ServiceNow to be able to do it seamlessly. And I think when we present it that simply to our customers, it's like, oh, that makes sense. And you know, Bill McDermott, who's the ServiceNow CEO, always says, with ServiceNow, no one has to lose in order for us to win. You know, he's a big fan of the ecosystem and working with multiple technologies, and that's part of the reason why I love the job I'm in, because it's not about competition. It's really very much about collaboration, and I think our partnership is kind of the pinnacle of that.
Yeah, yeah. I think what we've seen recently, you know, with the large language models, if you use that as an example, you can go to Azure and you can choose from a variety of large, small language models. We want to make sure that our platform is as open as possible. I mentioned to you Oracle. This week I've met with Snowflake, I've met with Databricks, and I talked about Fabric. Like, they all fit together. And customers will wire them together in different ways, and you will help us achieve those customer goals with a variety of different solutions. So I love that comment about nobody needs to lose in this world that we're living in. We just need to figure out on behalf of the customer what makes the most sense for them, customer choice, et cetera, et cetera. So, and
this is such an amazing opportunity for our partners, especially for our GSIs and, what'd you call it? Hyper value.
The high value management consultants, the advisory companies,
which
you were one.
High value management consultancies. I like that. What a tremendous opportunity, because I think right now you talk about customer choice, there's also customer confusion. I just think there is, because there's so much technology coming at them right now. There's so many different options. I see some nodding heads. What a fabulous opportunity for our partners collectively, many of whom are in the room have both Microsoft and ServiceNow practices, to work together and say, let us bring together these two powerful technologies to help you with whatever business issue you're facing. And to me, that's the opportunity for the partners in the room. I think you and I would both say, we want you to innovate, differentiate, bring that industry knowledge, bring that functional depth, help architect. I love the fact that you're investing in solution architects in your business. I'm doing the same for ours, because to your point, we need those architects supporting our partners as you're thinking about bringing together these platforms and how you bring them to market. And that's really where we need our partners to be focused.
So, message for this audience and the broader audience, we touched on this yesterday. Is there any need to wait?
Absolutely not. I mean, we're going to continue to innovate. You're innovating, right? What, 80 product announcements, unbelievable. Now there's a book of what those announcements are.
Yeah.
I feel like at ServiceNow, the roadmap is continuously improving. We're talking about enhancements to our integrations, right? Things like, how can we deliver the insights that we do through our workflows into PowerPoint directly, and other exciting enhancements. That's going to continue to go. So there's no waiting for something to happen. I think our message is, our partnership is real. We're working together. Our technologies can seamlessly, and I think that's really important, integrate together and produce really powerful results. And we're not sitting here saying, well, this is the use case we want to go after. What we want is our partners to come to us and say, this is a use case I think you guys can solve. Do you think we can architect something? And then we're going to land the architects working with you to help build it and get it out to market. And to me, that's the speed and agility we need in order to really take advantage of where we are.
I often find, especially in global systems integrators, advisories, we talk about our Microsoft customer engagement methodology is starting at stage 1, which is listen and consult, which I think is great. Somebody told me a long time ago, you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, Stephen. Use them in that ratio. And that's what listen and consult is all about. But the reality is many of you are in there before we're having that conversation. So if there was such a thing as MSEM stage 0, where the consultants and the advisors are in, or where you're already running a business process, you're still going to know much more about that customer experience and that business process than we could ever hope to. And that's what makes you really important, and that's what makes you really valuable. And then you can turn around and look at, okay, what does Microsoft bring first party? What do partners like ServiceNow bring to the table, and how can I integrate that in front of my customer, and how can I help them bend that innovation curve to their advantage? So we are ready for business now.
Yep. And I think there's easy entry points too. I hope everyone is aware that you can now purchase ServiceNow through the Azure Marketplace, which is fantastic for us, right? That's here in the US, that's in EMEA, that's in UAE, was just announced. And there is, to me, that's an easy entry point. You're with your customers, and you're talking about Microsoft and all the investments, and the customer says, you know what, I love Microsoft, and I'm also extending into ServiceNow. What a fantastic conversation to say, did you know you can make that ServiceNow purchase through Azure Marketplace, burn down your Mac commitments, and maybe use that as an opportunity, because you're burning down your Mac, to reinvest the dollars into fueling your Gen AI strategy. And did you know that when you fuel your Gen AI strategy, you could do it with Copilot and Now Assist together, and they're already seamlessly integrated? I love that message.
Erica, I'm not sure you're on the ServiceNow side or the Microsoft side, but I love that story about Marketplace. I love that story about burning down Macs, because it's a priority for our customers to understand how they can generate the value from the investments that they've made. I have been a passionate advocate for Azure Marketplaces and marketplaces in general for many years. And the more partners we get like ServiceNow into the marketplace on a global basis, the simpler we make that transaction. You know, I mentioned complexity. Here's an area where simplification is alive and well, and will only continue to get better. So, any last thoughts? We're here, we're ready for business. We've got great solutions in market. Yeah. What's the next 3, 6, 12 months? Is it about execution? It
is definitely about what Bill would call elite level execution. And what I would love the most, and it's funny, I was looking around and just seeing all the partners. I looked at your list of all the partner award winners. I said, every one of those partners is a ServiceNow partner. How do we get our Microsoft practices and our ServiceNow practices from those partners together, working together? If we could facilitate that, great. If we can make an investment to bring you into your EBC or our EBC, let's do it. We would love you to come to us with ideas. We have the architects from both of our companies ready to go. And I think we think about how to bring that into a few clients, and we start to execute together. You know, You asked me what side I'm on. I would say I'm neither ServiceNow nor Microsoft. I am always about the customer, and I think you are too. And to me, in this world of AI, it's truly about delivering customer value, and that's why I'm so passionate, because I think the opportunity for us to deliver that transformative value with this partnership is exponential.
Beautiful. Couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for taking the time. I know you've been traveling a lot, and I really appreciate you coming here. And sharing that story is so important to me, for all of you to know that we are in it to satisfy customer demand at the end of the day. I think that's why all of you are in business. It's certainly why Erica and I get up every morning empowered and passionate about doing better together going forward. So appreciate that. We have a few minutes left. I want to get to Q&A, so let me quickly clear this slide. I've told you all about the technical enablement that I can bring. That is an adjunct to everything that we do from Worldwide Learning, so please, you probably already know about it, but take advantage of our skilling and our certification. I'll make it real simple for you, and my executive assistant to the left-hand side is about to faint, stephen.boyle@microsoft.com. You can use the dot as well, actually it works, stephen.boyle@microsoft.com. I am here to help. And I know Erica is as well, but ping me first. Let's get you trained, let's get you practice developed, let's get you customer ready for what we can deliver in this generative AI era. Become your own best customer zero. Trust me, it works. Use the technology every day. Get comfortable with it. Be able to speak about it. Be able to tell the use cases. We are building our own use case wires and libraries and everything else, which we will also turn out to your use as well. But I would love for that to be a two-way street, if you like, and we're sharing best practices and use cases across the board. Engage and use our business value assessments, but also develop your own. And we can help you do that as well. We have a great partnership with what we call ISD these days, our Industry Solutions Organization. Many of you might already interact with them. They are partners in crime with me in trying to achieve the best for our customers and the best with ServiceNow as well. So with that, thank you. Let's do some Q&A. Or send you on your way early. It's entirely up to you. There is a microphone over here which we'd like you to use so that everybody at home watching online can hear from you as well. Anybody brave enough to ask the first question? Day 3, I know we're all tired. You have to use the microphone. So you have to put your laptop down and walk over there. Thank you, Dina. Do you need some water?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm particularly interested to hear about how you're thinking about the most exciting use cases of AI between the two companies at the face of the customer. What are some examples?
Yeah, I mean, I said one earlier, and I think to me this is, these are the exciting ones that are out there. First of all, you talked about security and risk. I think that's an incredibly exciting use case for us to play together, to be able to implement the controls that are needed in today's rapidly evolving environment around AI, and then to be able to use our workflows to track the data, to understand where your data is. To me, that's a great use case for us to go after. I think productivity, for sure, for employees is an easy use case using Office 365 and the power of ServiceNow workflows just to enhance that employee experience.
Yep.
You talked about employee experience being one, and I think you can extend that to the customer experience as well, to be honest with you. We are going from a ServiceNow standpoint very deep into customer workflows, not just back office and middle office, but into the front office, sales and order management. I think there's a great opportunity to use that alongside Microsoft to really drive the customer experience. So off the top of my head, I think those are 3 areas. I don't know, Stephen, what you would add into that.
Yeah, look, I'll make it real internally. I mentioned Judson and our sales and marketing organization, the utilization that we have there. We also brought generative AI and Copilot technologies across our support organizations as well. And so we looked at every stage in the process. And what I talked about, those 4 bullets, we hit every single one. We gave our employees a better experience by leveraging and using generative AI in their day-to-day tasks. We made the customer experience, the person who phones up Microsoft, I know not many phone up with problems because we're that, seriously. Our customer support desk handles quite a lot of traffic, so we want to improve the customer experience. And then the business processes. I don't think I'm allowed to say the number, but Judson used a very large number. We are saving hundreds of millions of dollars a year by taking generative AI step by step through the employee experience, through the customer experience, changing the business processes, taking time out, putting value back into our customer employee experience. So we have real live examples internally, and I know from all the conversations I've had this week, like that one I had with the gentleman from financial services last night, it is powerful, it is impactful, it's working. 12 months in, we need what every industry and every partner, and I guarantee if you've been in sales as long as I have, every single time we launch a new solution, it's like, where's my case study? Who's done it first? Where can I get more information on that? Like, this is first mover advantage for all of us in this audience. So guess what? All of those business use cases are not out there yet, but we're developing them, creating them every single day. And that's why I would encourage us as a partner community to share them, because in that environment, then all boats will rise and our customer experience will be better going forward. So from a sales perspective and from a support perspective, in partnership with ServiceNow, we can really bend that innovation curve across all those things that I said.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great response. Thank you. I'm going to pass the mic. We have another question right here.
Hi, Stephen. Hi, Erica. My name's Helen. I'm with ServiceNow. Thank you so much, first and foremost. Phenomenal content, information across the board. Quick question. It kind of piggybacks, Stephen, a little bit off of what you were saying. But with this motion and all the opportunity that we see in the market across the Microsofts, the ServiceNow, and the partner ecosystem to deliver that value to the customer, where historically have you seen some of the key focus areas where collaboration has ultimately been really successful so that we can make this partnership what it could ultimately be? And what are some of those key focus areas that across the board we should really be all over so that we can drive this to execution for the customers?
Well, look, I'll start. We are a platform company. And I've heard Judson and others say, you know, what we sell can be sold in many different places and utilized in many different ways. The layers of value add come from everybody who sits on top and delivers our platforms. So it's a little hard for me to narrow down in one particular area, because if I was speaking to an audience that cared deeply about data, and we were referencing, you know, my previous life like Oracle, that's a different value stack that leads to a different set of customer experiences, et cetera, et cetera. So what I'd like to say is, and I'm going to pull Erica into this conversation because she's going to save me any minute now, is it really depends. It depends on the industry, and it depends on the part of the industry that you're talking to. But the beauty about Microsoft is we have such a breadth of that platform solution, from business applications to app innovation to data and AI and everything in between. I feel comfortable that we have the broadest and deepest platform. What we need, Erica, is ServiceNow building onto that, building into the parts of the organization where your value add is critical. And then beyond that, bringing in, like you said a moment ago, the right capabilities from a systems integration perspective. So it's not a one-size-fits-all answer, is what I'm trying to say, but it very much depends on like the quality of the partnership that you have and we have with ServiceNow. So hopefully you can build on that platform answer that I just gave.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I mean, both of us are platform companies, but to me, I think we play, it almost goes back to what I said earlier, which is, I think about, I mean, you think about a typical tech stack, right? You have the productivity layer, the engagement layer. That's incredibly important. I think that is 100% where Microsoft really drives the employee experience, the customer experience, but you also need an engine to drive the work, the work, and that concept of workflow, that is what ServiceNow is all about. Those are two critical layers in the stack that are needed to be able to execute. And then you bring your data into that, you bring your integrations into that, and all of a sudden you create this very clean architecture that drives AI together. And I think that's what works. I think that's the value proposition for a customer that has the opportunity to bring these two powerful technologies together. Yeah. So to me, that's where I see the value add. And I think once you open up that story, then exactly, Stephen, to your point, it's like, well, how do I do this for the specific issue that I have in banking? Or how do I do this for this very specific use case I have for healthcare? And we may find in that instance, maybe you need to lean more on the Microsoft platform. And maybe there's another instance where it's more heavily on the ServiceNow platform because it's very specific, workflow heavy. It depends, and that's where the it depends comes in. But I think if we think about it that way as a starting point, then the use cases really dictate how we bring those two platforms together.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We have 1 minute left. You're not holding the microphone because you want to ask a question. I know that. Any final questions? Look, you've been a great audience. Thank you online and here in the room. I am super passionate about the success of every part of the Microsoft ecosystem, not just the part that I'm personally responsible for, hold myself personally accountable for. It's been a great pleasure to have Erica and her ServiceNow colleagues here with us today, so thank you for that. Look, this is a great time to go forth and to change a lot of things in this tech industry, and it doesn't happen that often. I've been around enough to know there's one or two. This is bigger and faster, and dare I say it, better than any wave of computing we've seen before. And I hope that you guys leave this room and this event this week empowered and keen to get back to work and to figure out how Microsoft, ServiceNow, and all of you are going to make our customer experience better going forward. Thank you all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.